You know, drink too much tequila at this point already. So the meat is juicy. This is the most important part. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to my channel where we cook a lot of Central Asian food, and today's video we're gonna cook Uzbek plov. It's a very simple recipe, yet is very exotic. So when you cook it for your guests, they'll be really impressed. Alright, let's start. Alright, the most important part about this dish is rice, as I mentioned, right? So in my case, we're gonna use about 2 pounds of rice, right? And then we're gonna put about 1.5 pounds of beef. Then we're gonna put 2 onions. You can put more onions, you can go rose onions. I'm gonna use about 1 pound of carrots, maybe 1.5 pounds. You can go wrong with carrots either because it's good for your eyes, for your skin. I'm gonna have this trick with the garlic because I just love garlic, right? Obviously we need salt. The oil, we can either use sunflower oil. In my case it's canola oil. It really doesn't matter. Just don't use olive oil. As optionals, we can use black pepper, cumin seeds, and paprika. If you don't have this, don't worry about it. It'll be fine, right? And finally, you need to have some drink with you, so that's make it fun. In my case, it's a tequila. And I mean, I drink 1800 because it's basically half price of Patron. You know, and I'm a cheap guy. All right, so the first thing we want to do, we want to wash the rice, right? And then after we wash it, we're gonna put it under the water for about 30-40 minutes while we prepare other stuff. What that will do, first of all, that will clean the rice and the taste will be very different. And also once we put it under 30-40 minutes, the rice will absorb all the water and it'll actually expand, and you will see actually how much rice you're working with. All right, let's start washing. So I mean, washing, there is no rocket science here. All you do is just, you know, put some water into it. Don't put cold water because the water have to be about 60 degrees Celsius. Not Celsius, sorry. Yeah, about Celsius, right? So you see all this white stuff, right? We want to put it out because it's the powder. The companies, they cheap out on water, on cleaning the rice. So then when you start eating this, all this you can taste in your food. And it's not as good. That's why you want to clean it 3 times, make sure. Alright, so now we just fill it up with enough water to cover the rice, right? And we'll just leave it to stay for about 30-40 minutes while we do some other stuff. Alright, let's go ahead. Well, we also want to wash the meat. Always wash the meat because, you know, some people say don't wash the meat because you're gonna lose the flavor. Nah, not really. You just wash the meat because you want to be healthy. And you don't want all this garbage, right? So here you go, we just rinse the meat the way you want it. Probably should have used a different container for it, but what else? You know, drink too much tequila at this point already. Alright, so we're gonna cook in this Dutch oven, right? But if you don't have a Dutch oven, you can use this saucepan. But you know, I'm lucky, so I have a Dutch oven. Okay, so how much oil are we gonna put, right? So we have about 2 pounds of rice. So we wanna put about maybe 200 milliliters of oil. In reality, just like, you know, if you don't know how much is it, I'll show you, look. As long as it covers and it has some depth in it, that's happy days. All you want to make sure is that, you know, all the oil covers the meat. So like if you have too much, don't put too much meat, right? So like you want to make sure when the first time you put the meat, that the oil will cover all the meat and will keep the blood inside the meat, because that will make the meat much better. It's not going to be dry. Alright, so I peeled and cleaned all the onions and the carrots. So one thing I'm gonna show you, it's a trick that not many people do, but so first what we wanna do is cut a bit of onion, just something like this, right? And a bit of a carrot, let's say, like, just some like this, right? Just a bit, right? Take this. Alright, so we had it on a medium fire for about 2 minutes. You can see like the oil start bubbling a bit. Don't wait too much because then it's gonna be all over. So then we take that, you know, the little onion we cut and the carrot, and we just put it in the oil. See, that's good, because if you see, that's good right now, because if you waited too long, right, to heat up the oil, it would just be everywhere right now. All your clothes will be messed up. Now we can just close it a bit so that, you know, all right, and let's go cut our other stuff. All right, so now our time is ticking, right? So we gotta be quick about it. Let's cut the onions. right? There's not much, you know, rocket science going on in cutting the onions. All we have to do is just cut them small enough so they dissolve, right? All right, so while this happens, right, you want to keep stirring a bit, right? You see it goes everywhere, it goes all over the place. But you want to make sure you stir it a bit. Because the reason we're doing that is because we want to give that oil the flavor. Because regular oil, it has no flavor, right? So instead of putting some, you know, funny stuff in there, we want to make sure we burn the onion and the carrot, so it gives out the flavor to the oil, right? Once we're done, once we see that it's almost cooked, we'll just throw it away in the garbage. Alright, so it should be done now. You see, it's all cooked up. So now we just collect it and throw it away. Alright, so now we're ready to put the meat. Alright. Don't forget to stir it, because we want to make sure that the all meat is covered in oil. Because we need to keep that blood in there, in the meat, so the meat is juicy. This is the most important part of a better meat here. You see how in my case, right, the meat is just enough so that there's only one layer. If you put too much meat and there's a two layer, whatever the meat is in the second layer, not gonna get the oil on it, right? So then it's gonna be very dry meat. That's how people usually mess up this dish. Alright, so now that the meat gave out the blood, right? Now you see the oil calm down, so it's not like splurting away. What do we wanna do? We don't wanna close it anymore. We wanna leave it open, so let the water and all this stuff goes away. So once the water goes away, we'll put all these onions that we got ready, right? But one thing we want to do now is put some salt, right? There is no best time to put salt. If you look some other recipes, people say, oh, this is the best time to put salt. Some people say in the beginning, some people say at the end. What I do salt cost averaging. You know how in investments they do dollar cost averaging when you don't know exactly the right time? We just put it a little bit every time. So that's what I do with the salt. I put it a little bit throughout the dishes and I try it a little bit. Okay, so while this is happening, while our onions are waiting, we keep sipping our tequila and enjoy the time. Alright guys, so we can't constantly drinking while we're waiting for this, so let's do some work, right? So while we're waiting, we can cut the carrots, right? So the way we want to cut them, right, we want to slice them. That's why it's important to buy the cheap big carrots instead of buying those fancy small carrots, right? Because it's much easier to cut these big carrots. Maybe not that easy, but you know, the better your knife is, the easier it is to cut, right? So now then what you do, you just stash them like this and you just cut it, you see, on little pieces, right? I mean, it could be small, it could be medium size, whatever happens, right? Don't beat yourself to it. Alright, so you see all the water and blood went out, so now all we have is a clean meat and some oil, right? See how meat looks very good. So that's when we put the onions. We just dump them like this, right? Now we stir it nicely. Alright, and as I mentioned before, I'm gonna put a little bit salt here and there, just a bit, so you don't go too crazy. At some point we're gonna try it and see if it's actually good or not. Alright. Alright, so you know we kept it like this about 10 minutes. Maybe every 2 minutes we were, you know, stirring it. As you can see, the onions already like very yellowish, you know. Meat smells nice. That's when we want to put the carrots. Right, so you see we cut it all our carrots nicely. Just dump our carrots on top. Alright, so now we leave our carrots like this. Well, we gotta stir it first too, yeah. So we stir it, right, and then we leave our carrots till they become soft. as soon as they become soft, we go to the next step. So, but now what you can do, you should probably put the water to boil, because we will need the water. So put about, you know, like maybe a gallon of water to boil. Okay. All right, so this is the good point to actually, we just put the carrots, and it's a good point to try a meat to see if our salt is good or not. Let's go. So if the salt is good, put a little bit more, because you just put the carrots. And then we're gonna put rice and stuff, so let's put a little bit more salt. Right? And now let's put some of our spices. It's not a final time we're putting spices, but let's, you know, we're gonna average out the spices as well, right? Put some black pepper, not too much, you know, some paprika. And the killer, one of the best things to put it, is cumin seeds. But again, if you guys don't have it, nothing bad's gonna happen. It's an optional. It just makes it taste even better. Especially cumin. It's very good. Alright, while we wait, let's prepare our garlic. What we wanna do, we just wanna clean a bit. Don't break the whole structure, because it's you'll see how we're gonna use it. It's a very fancy way. But we still wanna put all this out, you know, like out the layer, so it doesn't go to our food. Once we're done with cleaning it like this, right? We will wash it in regular water, and then I'll show you what to do with it. One thing I forgot to mention, that we should have closed the lid when I put the carrots. Yeah, and then we'll let the carrots to like cook about 15 minutes, and but we will like stir it every 5 minutes. So right now, as you can see, our carrots are very soft, right? But still, you see, it's still not burning, right? But it's the right time. You don't want to wait till it start burning. Okay, so and now our water got boiled. So what we're gonna do, oh, right before that, if you want, you can put more paprika, peppers, and salt, and the cumin, depending on your taste, right? I put a little bit more. But basically, yeah, now we have boiled water. We're gonna put some water on top, right? Just like this. It has to be boiled. Make sure it's not cold water or warm water. Don't put too much water. We can add it a little bit later. All right. So put some water. Let's stir it a bit. Make sure nothing is sticking. No. Okay. Now, let's look at our rice. Remember, put the rice on the water. You see, now water is gone. All the rice took all the water. All right. So now, take this rice. Right. I bet this was a surprise for you, right? You guys probably thought I'm just gonna put into regular water. So now, we evenly put the rice on top of the meat. Make sure you don't stir it right after you put the rice. Like all the meat and carrots will be under the rice. Okay, let's put it evenly. Okay, yeah, as I mentioned in the earlier videos, I'm really cheap, so I want to make sure that every rice, the rice thing is end up being used. Right, nothing goes to the garbage. Okay, so now let's fix up a bit. Right. As you can see, we put very little water because it's not covering yet. We're gonna put more water because we want to at least cover the rice. Alright, so let's put a little more water. That's why I want to make sure you at least heat up enough water so you can use it. Alright, I think this is about enough. You put it about the layer. Right now we're going on a very low, not very low, but low heat. Okay, so now the kicker. Alright, we take our garlic, put it this. See? There you go. Okay, and now we close the lid. Heat up. You don't want to close it too much. You just, you know, like little holes here, right? Like, because if you close it too much, the rice will become too soft. So you want to let it out a bit, some water, like maybe like this is good. Perfect. That's it, guys. Now you just wait till all the water goes out. I'll show you how to check it. All right, to check if it's cooked yet, one thing you want to do, like every 2-3 minutes, you want to take a spoon, right, and just make a little opening and see if there is still water. You see, in this case, there is still a lot of water, so we're still good. So we're still cooking, right? Okay, so now I think we got to the point where we almost have no water left. There is some in the middle, but nothing on the corners. So at this point, and make sure only at this point we can stir. There you go. There you go. It looks very good. So we want to stir it all the way. See? I think it took us about like maybe 10-15 minutes to get to this point from when we put the water. Okay, so now that you stir it, right, leave it on for maybe another minute or two like this, and then you can just turn it off and ready to serve. Alright guys, we finished with our plov. That's how it looks when it's done. Put it on the plates. I eat a lot, she eats less. And we made the very nice tomato salad to go with this. We'll make it much juicier. And you remember the garlic? Oh, it's gonna taste amazing right now. Alright guys, I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please click that like button and subscribe and drink tequila.